Hello, beauties. Welcome back to our seasonal series where on every solstice and equinox, we are looking very closely and very carefully, paying great attention to a Mary Oliver poem. Mary Oliver is a Pulitzer Prize winning poet. She is often called around the Wild Woman Project the patron saint of wild women. She has a very unique ability to help us to get more in touch with the natural world and is sometimes a translator of the natural world, which, of course, is always speaking, but doesn't speak in language, doesn't speak in words. Um, she is a poet that is wonderful at translating and then making beautiful, beautiful poetry. She's passed now, but she has left us a wealth of poetry. So on this summer solstice, we are going to be reading When I Am Among the Trees, which I have in my devotions collection, but it can also be found originally in her collection called Thirst from 2006. So, what I've done, and I encourage you when you're getting to know a poem, it can be a great practice if you're a journaler like me, which I'm always encouraging you to journal, is to write the poem down word for word in your own journal, in your own handwriting. And it's a way to get more intimate with the poem to help it to land on all kinds of levels inside of you. So I want to say before I read this to us, this is a great video to take on a walk. This is a great video to take out onto your porch or near a window where you can look out onto the natural world around you, even if it's just a tree on your street, but to be outside or close to outside and be in relationship. There's a way that nature plays with us all the time. And I encourage you to take me on a walk, take me outside if you wish. So we're discerning from this poem a single lesson for the summer solstice. This is called When I Am Among the Trees by Mary Oliver. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines. They give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say they save me, and daily. I'm so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches and they call again. "It's simple," they say. And you too have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light and to shine. So let's tiptoe back to the front of the poem, to the beginning of the poem. And we'll kind of zoom in closely on some hints and clues and gifts that we can take with us from this poem. So there are 4 stanzas. That's chunks of lines. And in the first stanza, she really reveals her intimacy. She knows the trees by name. She goes and names them: the willows and the honey locust, and the oaks and the pines and the beech. There's something to that to treasure, to know the names of the trees around us, like to be on a first name basis, or at least a last name basis. um, and she says they give off such hints of gladness. I love to circle around that those couple of words. They give off. So they radiate, they offer, they shine out, they give off um, hints of gladness. So this is what she's observing. The trees are offering up, just being themselves, just standing there as they do. She goes on to say, I would almost say they save me, and daily. And this is a line that really strikes my heart, especially on certain days. And I know many of us wild women, one of the things, we're an eclectic bunch, but one of the things that we agree on is that the natural world is our teacher, is our playground, is our home, and being amongst the trees saves Mary Oliver, as I'm sure for many of us on some days it feels like they save us. The next stanza I love. So she is really talking about, she goes, I am so distant from the hope of myself. So here in the woods or here amongst the trees, she's so distant from the hope of herself. And then she goes on to list all the things that she hopes that she is. She's essentially, I hope I am having goodness. I hope I am having discernment. I hope I am not walking hurriedly through the world, but I hope I'm walking slowly. I hope I am bowing out. She says, I'm away from the hope of myself. So I think there's something to relate to here. I think on some level, we all worry about meeting our expectations for ourselves, the ideal of how we wish we were in comparison to, the human messy reality of who we really are. And she just kind of names in that stanza, she doesn't necessarily name anxiety. She says, I am distant from the hope of myself. But it kind of hints at it a little bit that there's I hope that I'm this way. I hope. But that's there. Here in the woods, I'm experiencing something different. That worry, that hope, that ideal, which is just an ideal, is not here. I am amongst the trees. And she goes on in the next stanza to really bring us there with her. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves. So immediately I just got goosebumps. We're immersed. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves. So she's feeling that, she's feeling that total immersion. She's hearing, she's seeing the stirring. And they call out, stay a while. So that invitation, you're welcome here. You're welcome to stand still for a bit, which is medicinal to Mary Oliver's worry, right? That she hopes that she's not hurrying through the world, that she's walking slowly and she's bowing often. And the trees in the next stanza right here invite us, stay a while, stay a while. You don't have to hurry. You're welcome to just be here with us. And the final verse in the stanza is, the light flows from their branches. So she gives us this visual image. If you've ever seen the sunlight streaming through the forest, streaming through the trees. They illuminate, kind of change the color of the leaves that we're looking at. The light just drapes over, and she's saying it flows from their branches. So again, just like in the first stanza when we had that gives off energy, gives off hints of gladness, here the light flows from their branches. Branches go out like this. There again, we have that sense of expansion, giving, offering, radiating. And in the final stanza, she gives us, I think, maybe everything we need to know about life. You tell me. And they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. So there's a couple of layers here. There's this thing of listening to nature. In the Wild Woman Project, we talk a lot about the three spheres of guidance that we have access to all the time. Huge resources in our understanding, in our, spiritual questing and seeking. So it's the inner guidance, the guidance that comes from inside in all of the ways inside communicates. Then there is the sphere, the guidance that comes around, comes from the circle. And that could be the circle you're sitting in, or that could be considered the circle of the human family. Like here, we get to sit with Mary Oliver, who, even though she's on the other side, she's passed, we're sitting with her. We have this resource of her perspective. And then finally, we have the guidance that comes through the natural world. And it's a subtle guidance, but you'll find the more you learn about Indigenous people from the whole world, everywhere in the world, people who, and far enough back, everybody everywhere was very close to nature. So close that they could, and I think we can, receive messages from the movement of light, from a particular bird passing by, from a stirring in the forest of wind at a certain moment, from sitting with a tree or a creature or a stone or a body of water. I think part of our rewilding process is remembering what our ancestors knew, that the natural world is part of our family, and the natural world is always speaking in subtle ways. We just have to learn to hear it. So there's this beautiful thing I just want to speak to, especially in the summer months when we can get outside and we can be immersed in bodies of water to cool out the heat, and so much of the natural world is spectacularly in full bloom, full radiance. This is a time where there's so much life that nature is giving off, shining out, flowing through, and we can receive the gift of that guidance if we are paying attention. And then the second piece I just want to name is what she actually got from the trees. That translation of what they said. First they tell her to stay a while. Then they tell her it's simple. You two have come into this world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. It's simple. The older I get, the more I realize that simplicity, there's something sacred and true about simplicity. And the more complex something becomes, the more convoluted. So it's simple, the trees say. And you too have come into this world kind of like to do what we're doing, we the trees, to go easy. And I think there again, we have that contrast of what she's talking about in the second stanza about her hope that she is not hurrying, her hope that she's walking slowly, that she's showing good discernment, that she's being good, to go easy, they say. And I think there's something medicinal in that for all of us. We can be so worried. We can be so harsh. We can be so quick to judge, quick to react, quick to be upset. What is it to be easy? You can almost feel your nervous system relax, this idea coming through the trees. You too have come into this world to do this, to go easy. So I think there's something to that, especially in the summer. Maybe we can all see if we can find a greater sense of ease, find ways to relax the nervous system, to allow ourselves to move a little more slowly, to take more pauses, to lean away from reactivity, to be filled with light is the next, to be filled with light. So there they stand in the forest being filled with sunlight, which is feeding them. What does that mean for us to be filled with light? How are we filled with light? How are you filled with light? What are the things that fill you with light? Like that tree standing in the forest, just basking in the sunlight, giving light off its branches. What makes you feel like that? I think that's a really important thing to know. And then an important invitation to go do those things or be in those places that make you feel that way, or in those states that help you to be filled with light. And then, of course, she ends with, and to shine. So that's what happens when you receive light. You let yourself be filled with light. Light may be connection, friendship, family, music, art, participating in positive change in one's community. There's a million ways, being immersed in nature, praying, meditating, playing, dancing, and on and on. When you fill yourself with light, you cannot help but to shine. So, what a perfect invitation for summer. What a perfect invitation for summer. So I have 3 little bits, practices, things that you can think of, homework, home play for the summer season, where the lesson here is to shine. 1, learn the names of the trees around you. So maybe it's the trees on your block or the trees in your yard, the trees in your favorite park. Like, what are their names? What kind of trees are they? And just learn their names so you can, walk through and say, you know, hello, Miss Poplar. Hello, Mr. Birch, whatever it is, So that's one. Two, find a tree or a group of trees and stay a while. Stay a while, sit down, plan to be there for a little while. Take it in, receive, see if you can open to that connection, that communication with the tree or the trees. Stay a while. And finally, the third one is a journaling prompt for solstice. What would it look like for you to go easy? What would it look like for you to be filled with light? And what would it look like for you to shine? Really thinking on those three pieces. What does it look like in your life? Because all of our lives are different. There's different architecture to each and every one of our lives. So in your life, what does it look like to go easy? What does it look like to be filled with light? And what does it look like to shine? And you can write or you can draw your answers. So before I read this poem through one more time, because with poetry, the more you roll it around in your head and in your heart and in your body, the more the poem opens and opens and opens. Before I read that, I want to tell you some summertime announcements. So for the season for Wild Woman Project, first of all, on July 1st, the doors to Wild Woman Underground open for 7 days. This happens only twice a year. It won't happen again until 2026. So we open to new members for a week or until all spots are filled, whichever one comes first. There's a link below this video. But Wild Woman Underground is a community where we circle up every single week. We have coming up things like Women Who Run with the Wolves story circle. We have forest bathing, breath work circles. We have circles to honor the equinoxes and solstice. We have a book club that's participant led, where we explore all kinds of wild woman friendly books about nature, about spirituality, about womanhood. Um, so we also have an app that we share in to keep in touch, to support, to inspire one another between sessions. And inside of that app lives all of our past circles, workshops, sessions. There's a wealth in there now. I think there's 125 as of this recording of workshop circles and sessions that you have access to the second that you sign up. So if being in community and being in circle with other wild women sounds exciting to you, I can just say from my own experience, it keeps me in touch with my intuition. It keeps me sparked for life. It fills my cup. It fills me with light, to use the phrase from today. So, yeah, you can sign up and you can sign up for a monthly membership. You can do an annual where you get a pretty steep discount, and you can cancel anytime. So you can give it a try. And if you do sign up on July 1st or any time in that week, I can't wait to welcome you. So that's number one. Number two is every single new moon, I do a new moon meditation adventure. I host it. It's 1 hour long, and we explore a theme, we do a practice, we make intentions, and I do it in solidarity with the Wild Woman Project circles that are happening around the globe. So you can come to the new moon meditation. The next one's on June 25th. And every single new moon, I do it. Um, and if you want to find a circle near you, we have hundreds of circle leaders all over the world in 27 countries. So you can look on our website and see if there is a circle near you. So I'll link to all of these things below this video. And I will say, if the thought of facilitating a circle sounds exciting to you, we have a circle leader training program that's 100% online. It's 7 weeks and it'll start up again in the fall of 2025. So I'll tell you more about that later. For now, I'd love to leave you with this gorgeous poem. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines. They give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say they save me, and daily. I'm so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, stay a while. The light flows from their branches. And they call out again, it's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine.